politics is hollow
Mhm.
without culture.
Yeah.
And that's why Russia is such a threat, because it's so cultured, right? Same with Germany. Germany is such a threat because it's so cultured, right?
Yeah.
Whereas England is just the machine.
And
just
this
profit.
country has no culture.
Zip.
Well,
I mean, it does.
coming out of World War II, people often ask me, "Oh, what would the world look like if we hadn't conquered the Germans in World War II?"
Right.
I think, look around you.
Right.
This is what it would look like.
Right.
America and
Germany.
Britain
Right.
became fascist.
Right. They always
coming out of World War II.
They always were.
Yeah, but they came. Well,
look at our founding fathers.
Yeah. Oh, have you ever read The Irony of Democracy?
Yeah.
Diane Fladen's
Yeah.
letters? Yeah. Okay.
It was like their version of email. It's like all there.
Yeah, it's right. It's right. We have to, the democracy is failed.
Right.
We have to make sure the power never again leaves our hands.
Right.
And that's what won the Electoral College.
And yes, exactly. That's why we have what we got. And but see, like I said, what's the flaw of America is that we are addicted to convenience, and that's all we've been given. We've just been
It's
given.
a pack. We as the media culture. I look around me, and what you have is a schizophrenic culture now.
Well, it's porn.
It's
owned.
media.
It always was owned. We look at Hearst and Pulitzer. Come on.
But it's the media now that raises the kids.
Yes.
Not the parents.
Well,
so that's why the
it's
kids are
past media.
schizophrenic.
This is what's doing it.
Yeah.
This
Well,
ain't even the media.
Yeah.
This is mind control.
Yeah. Oh yes.
This is MK Ultra.
I refer to modern culture as consumer androids.
Right.
Well programmed.
Right.
See, before I gave up on the political struggle when I realized struggle in the streets that had been lost, and I was a street fighter. I was there the night we damn near took the
Did you
UN.
ever know Adam Purple?
No.
Did you ever know any of the Bohemians? The guys
Sure,
who were down on the Bowery, and they people called them bums, but they chose to live that style, and they could do anything.
Just like the squatters in the East Village.
So I was one of those guys.
Okay.
I started a thing called, with 8 other people, we started a thing called OR, Outstanding Renewal Enterprise. So I had a master's electrician's license. Right?
Okay.
And I put legal electricity. Everyone said, "Well, steal the electricity." I said, "No, we're going to have legal electricity, so you have an electric bill. So when the marshal comes to throw you out, you show them the bill, and they have to go away because the electric bill is the platinum level of ownership." Right. So we did that to 500 apartments, and that's why. And we grew our own food. We took over PS 122, had our own school. We had we had the Kristen Dawn House before the guys came in, right?
Yeah.
And and this is the problem of community organization. So we had this amazing thing that we had the law on our side. And so when the rich people got the cops to come in and beat us in, the anarchists said, "Oh, we have to fight them." I said, "No, we can never fight them, right? So what we're going to do is educate them." So we got the Women's Hispanic Poetry Alliance to come in and sing them songs. And after 8 months, we sang songs to every policeman in New York Police Department. We love these guys. Yeah. So they wouldn't beat us up anymore. Because they would do it like no kidding, And Lower East Side in 1984 to 87 was like Poland. Give me your papers.
Back to the days when the Life Cafe was a real community place.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the Living Theater, I was part of them. All of these entities I was part of, and that's what won the day. It was culture, right? And why we did gardens was not just because there was no place to buy food.
Yeah, I remember.
And the buses didn't even come through the Lower East Side anymore. So we had to walk all the way over to 2nd Avenue. Anyway, so we grew our own food, not just because it's food. We did it because it brought people together, right? And so like on 6th Street, 6 and B, it's a 6 and B garden. That was the first one we did. And the first thing we put in there was a stage and a theater where we would have performances. right? And so none of that is going. So right here, right now, Little Milligan School, right? That was an amazing school that really was doing something for this community, right? For the Pogie folk who, most of those kids were totally traumatized by their families being on crack and right and alcoholics, and that school was just a haven for them, right? Well, the rich people came in and bought up everything the last 5 years, and I thought it would never happen. That's why I came here, because I said, oh, this is too far away from the nearest Walmarts than ever. And this is a Sawtooth Mountain Range, but they're never straightening out 321. They're never going to build another highway. It took them 60 years to build that. You're kidding? No, 60 years to build that road.
Wow.
So they're never going to build another one, right? And when I was here, there was never a tractor trailer on that road, right? There was never a 40-ton dump truck with stone on it and concrete mixers. So you look at that road, it is sliding into the lake, right? And so, like just yesterday, it was a mind-boggling crash down there.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear those sirens? It was just anyway. So I mean, I'm sitting in my woods and I'm just siren after siren. I said, oh, somebody must have died. So this place, and if you go,
I live up on Pogie, by the way.
If you drive out this way, right, about 4 miles, where that road is right along the lake, right? All the trees are dead.
Right.
It was not that way 3 years ago.
Oh.
Because this place is so sensitive that its tipping point environmentally is.
Well, in the 90s, this place was actually super fun.
Yeah.
In the 90s, the feds came in and they wanted to move the entire community, and the community just had refused.
Right.
I've never found out exactly. I think it's heavy metals from the water table, but and you want to see what heavy metals in infant drinking water do to the
people.
You see it here,
right?
And that's why I really think that's why it's so crazy up on Pogie.
Right. Oh yes. And you know why that was? Is that everything from Johnson City to Kingsport to Unicoi was the Silicon Valley of the 1890s. This was the high tech. This is where plastics were invented.
Oh wow!
All of that chemistry that was almost like being, a wizard. They were doing chemistry that wasn't just, but really turning like natural gas into plastic, right? Using electricity.
Yeah.
And they had all the juice because of all the water they have here. They had dams, right? TVA. That's why they built Oak Ridge just down the road, because this technological base that was here, and that happened because of the Civil War, because this was part of the Union. This wasn't the South. All these people with the battle flag of the Republic. Right. No, that's not this place, right? And this place had a lot of black people because they were actually the high skilled folk.
Well, you wouldn't know it to look around here today.
Except you do see a lot of black folk who are white folk. Meaning, whenever you see somebody who has really high cheekbones and has freckles, they have black in them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, and so the history here. There's a guy, Joseph. He's the archivalist at Elizabethton Public Library.
Okay.
And he's done a great job because he had just tons of like newspapers and everything of this whole area for 100 years, like from the 1840s.
You wouldn't believe it
until 1940. Now. And he just, before it got all thrown away, he digitized it all, and he did a great job.
See, I would never think that this place had ever actually been.
But that's why that heavy metals are here.
Yeah,
because this is where they didn't dump them off in Kingsport or Johnson City, or
they dumped them over here.
Right, exactly.
Because this was backwoods even then.
And it was right there. There are two roads that you could do that, coming on that side from Hampton or this way.
Wow.
But and the lake wasn't really there.
No.
That wasn't until 1960.
Yeah. That was just where they backed it up from the dam.
So the rich people are coming in here because that little dam made a coastline of 1,200 miles. Because this is a Sawtooth Mountain range, so it filled all that up, so it's all over the place, right? It's not like somebody sold all that property to developers, right? And you could go over to Pioneer Landing, and there's eagle nesting up there, right? Well, it's on this road called Dry Run. What does that mean? There's no water in the ground. And those morons have bought up these, 300 lots at 100 grand a piece, and they have a nice little marina there for every lot. But it's at the end, so when the TVA lowers the water, the thing's in mud. It's like really, and it's on such a steep hill. The people who have their house here, they put their septic here. The guy here, all that septic is going into that guy's basement.
Yes.
It's like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, right up the road here, there's a guy with a basement. He can't figure out why, whenever it gets heavy, there's heavy rains, his basement fills up with brown water.
right,
And I'm just going,
yes,
didn't want to tell him.
right. That's it. Right. So anyway, this place is a really amusing place because it is a microcosm of the rest of the world. And it's happening like this. Instead of taking 60 years to
Oh God. And well, my wife tells me this place has changed dramatically since the 80s.
yes.
Well,
It's changed dramatically since you've gotten here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the deterioration. The social fabric and
it does
the
this.
population.
It hurts my heart the worst.
And yet, while the local population is deteriorating and the social fabric is falling apart, the rich are coming in, and you're seeing, up the road here,
right.
folks who are
Well, if you've been, what do you say? You've been
we
here.
have no water,
Right.
we have no electric,
Right.
we have, we burn wood for heat,
Right.
for cooking, and yet you see the Lexus driving down the new Lexus driving down the road right past,
Right by your house, right?
It's just, and that's only happened in the last few years.
Right. Last 5 is when it's really taken off.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried, like, there's a
Eaton's branch.
yeah, there's a gated community right there that's maybe 15 to 20 years old.
Yeah.
That never took.
Yeah.
Right. And there's Banjo Ridge that never took.
Yeah.
But that was a total scam.
It's the Banjo Ridge. That's the only place you can get a cell phone signal around here.
Right.
That's where we go for our cell signal.
Right. Yeah. So it's quite an amusing thing. But I thought I would. I lived all over the world, all over the place, and I seem to find really beautiful, great places to live. And then the cockroaches move in, the rich. That's the cockroaches. And
Well, just like Montana, I used to want to head back there at times. But even that, it's not. Last time I was in Montana, it wasn't the same place anymore because it's now the place where the Californicators have their
mega,
summers.
right, mega places.
And so it's not even. I mean, the little town I grew up in, 4,000 people.
Uh-huh.
You can't. I was looking at rents up there just a few years back, and their rents were sky high, and yet Cutbank, Montana, was just oil field and ranching community.
Right.
And yet now it's upscale.
But have you been in Butler? You go into Butler, and there's the general store, restaurant kind of place, whatever they call that place. And there's a post office kind of thing here by the lake, but there's a bank here, and that road where the bank is goes up. And there are 2 lots where someone has bought 2 falling down houses, cleared them out, and put up glamping sites in both. And they're not like the one on the road into Butler for rich people with their boats, and they come there 2 weeks and blah, blah, blah. That's what they're doing, to put working people in there and charge them $800 a month just to live in a 300 square foot trailer.
Oh, Lord.
There was a movie that Steven Spielberg is really tied in. I mean, every movie he makes gives you a harbinger of what's coming. Right?
Okay.
And he did, maybe 10, 15 years ago, a movie called Player One. And everyone had their VR goggles on and everything, right? And they were living in squalor, and everyone's houses were like those kind of RVs but they were on top of each other. So they went in there and people thought they were living in high class kind of things, and they weren't. They were, it was these like trailers welded on top of each other. And so there it is in Butler.
Wow.
And they're that far apart from each other. Right?
Yeah.
And you know, when you go down 321 and there's like that Christian glamping site right there.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, it's on this. If you're going towards Hampton, it's on this side,
Mm-hmm.
And it's Jesus is it's like right. And so anybody who advertised like that, it's like they're a crook. In Virginia, I was organizing social activism, right,
Yeah.
and this church, and everybody who was the usual suspect, all these liberal and woke folk who wouldn't do anything for anybody, but they were going to save the trees or do this. And so,
God forbid save the trees, save the animals. God forbid they do anything for other people.
or children, right?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I'm trying to get, because Roanoke, so I used to work as a consultant. I was, for 30 years, I was what I called myself as an itinerant scholar.
Okay.
So people would call me a research fellow. Right? That was the scholastic name for what I did. I would just go to colleges and I would work for somebody like Brookings or this entity or that entity, and they want to know something, and I would go to some university. That entity would pay the university to do it, and I'd be the guy who would represent those guys there.
Okay.
So it was really great. I got to look at stuff that no one ever could get their hands on, and they paid me pretty good, and it was nice. And I wouldn't be there for more than 8 months to 18 months, so I would go on to something more interesting. That's what got my interest, right? So and so I traveled all over the place to look at demographic things. And I realized that certain places, you don't have to, like Roanoke, Virginia, represented every demographic there was in America. I didn't have to go anywhere. So I found this beautiful place out in the middle, because it's a lot like this, but instead of the Appalachian Mountains, it's the Blue Ridge Mountains, which are a little more lumpy. And so I found this beautiful place between Roanoke and Floyd, and did all my little studies right there. And there are lots of little colleges around there that I could use. And so anyway, I did that. So I got very involved, and it was more, I got involved because it was my laboratory. And we get involved with these different communities. Like they were putting the Mountain Valley gas pipeline from Canada to the coast.
Okay.
Going right through there.
Right.
And the bourgeois people they never understood anything about environmental, but then one day these guys are like chewing up their golf course and their house with eminent domain, and they couldn't do what? And so they said, well, we're going to put our kids in the trees to stop. I said, no, if you really want to stop, you have to figure out why are they doing that and go to that and step in front of that. And why they were doing this. This is almost 20 years ago. They were doing this pipeline because that strip from the Ohio Valley down to the coast is the largest electrical transmission shaft. And it steps out into every direction, almost all the way to the west, all the north, all the right? And so what they were getting ready was the electric car. Right? And so they needed, and so what they knew after 3 Mile, and no one's going to build another electric, radioactive plant, right? So what they did have is these gas turbines that are about the size of a tractor trailer. You put 10 of those, that equals one nuclear power plant. Instead of taking 20 years to build it, you can drop that sucker in a weekend. And so that's why they put the gas pipelines there, right? And they put it right next to those power lines. And those power lines are pretty easy to put up. You put up these little things, but to put a gas pipeline in the ground is pretty, especially if the mountains are doing this. And so they did that. And it's a total cluster because most pipelines are done in flat places. Not like this, right?
Yeah.
And so they take
Nice new pipeline.
then you know what I'm talking about. Right. So anyway, and every time, so they do these tests. They put water in the pipeline under pressure to see where blows out. Every place where people could see, it blew out. So that meant that every place people couldn't see, it was blowing up there too. But they just patched it up and they're putting gas in. There's gases in it right now. At super high volume, like, and it's transmitting like a billion gallons of or cubic feet of gas every day. So once that sucker, so you know how we had a little drought here. You know how we had the drought last week, right? I mean, the last 3 weeks before it started raining again. Well, that's that place all the time. So it's tinder dry.
Oh.
That sucker goes up. Oh man, it's
and the gas is just permeating.
Yes, everything. Oh, it's so. You know, I saw that 20 years ago, and I was trying to. So I went to FARC as this entity that is our governmental thing that's supposed to do the right thing, right? So I was going to go to the first hearing. I found out where it was, and I usually show up way before the hearing, like the day before, because I want to talk to the guys who are going to administrate it, who can't come to the hotel. Right? So I show up, and it's this hotel by the airport in Roanoke, and I said, so, you know, I'm talking to the guy behind me. So the guys from FARC show up, and this guy, this kind of chubby guy wearing a Duke T-shirt, said, "Yeah, we're here." I looked at him. He's a little drunk, and he says, "Yeah, I'm the judge." Like he's the head guy. He's a little drunk. And I said, "I used to go to Duke." And then we started talking Duke stuff, and now I'm a brother, right? So we go have lunch. He drinks more. I don't really drink. And he's just saying, these people are stupid. They don't know they're getting screwed. And so anyway, so he said, but I got to go upstairs and take a shower and go to sleep for an hour and not be so drunk because I have to look like Judge. He comes down, it's a nice $300 suit, his hair, right? And we have dinner. He said, why don't you come and have dinner with me and have dinner? And his guy, who's like, he shows up, and this guy is total military. I mean, his physique, all his clothes, his intelligence, 100%, right? So I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. We both realize that we're both the same guy, but he's in his 28 and I'm like 62. I'm now an itinerant scholar. We kind of smile and go like this, and we start talking about. I said, so how you got this place scoped out? Where you got your people? What are you doing? Da, da, da. And he looks at the judge like, oh, he's from Duke. So we're all in it together. And just at that dinner 20 years ago, they basically saying that's what's going to happen. Now, I know the morons who are going to show up, the liberal, woke folk. And so there is not going to be any hearing where they can scream and yell. What they're going to do is have all the people will sit in one room, which is like where most meetings are, where they think the hearing is going to be. But no, another room over here, they're going to, okay, everybody who wants to say anything, sign this thing, put your name, your address, your phone number, your social security number. And then we will call you and you can speak to the judge people, make your statement. Nobody else will hear you. We no TV cameras. And we will interrogate you and scare the crap out of you and then let you go. That's what they did. So that's America. And that's what America has always been. Like our conversation started about the founding fathers.
Yeah. It's always been it. The difference. The fascism that arose in the 20th century
and we have
was different from the
see that word fascism. We have to figure
elitism.
We have to find a better word, because fascism, people have no idea what it means.
Yeah, it's funny. It's easy to define.
Yes, probably
in capitalism, the
money runs
the owners of production
right.
Own the means.
Right.
In communism, the state owns the means.
Right.
And in fascism, the state controls the means, which are owned by the capitalists. Right. It's easily defined.
But see, those were all 19th century definitions. things have kind of changed.
Yeah.
So we out of all of that, we have not mentioned the power of culture whatsoever.
Have you read Who Rules America and Who Rules America Now?
I haven't read it thoroughly.
Okay.
I gave a nice glance to it, but
Yeah, it was a nice study,
right.
and really kind of put it straight down. It's the oligarchy is really we're really oligarchy.
Right. And again, we're just bovine.
Mm-hmm.
We're cows out in the fields, just eating the grass.
Well, that's why the educational system, our educational system, is intentionally bad.
Right.
Because they don't want anybody to learn.
And that's why
anything.
I closed that school down, because that school, plus they only had 120 kids. Teacher-student ratio was 1 teacher to 10 kids. And so I used to be there as a guest all the time, but I knew all the people who ran the place. I tried to get a job in that school district, and when I showed them my credentials, they said, "You're overqualified." I said, "No, I just want to be, what do they call it, a substitute teacher.
Right.
I don't want to, and basically, I said, no, you would tell these kids things we don't want them to hear. So that's why they say you're overqualified. Anyway, so I said, fine. I'm living like $1 million on $400 a month. Right? You can come in here and buy breakfast and still live up, because I don't spend money on anything. I have no credit cards. I have no nothing.
Yeah.
Just sit, right? So, and I own a little square of the forest. My taxes, because I have nothing on it, it's $130 a year. So my rent is $130 a year.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, in the car I have, somebody lends me, and all of that.
Right.
So I can do this, and I don't have any kids. I don't have any of that kind of luggage. Now I do have, when I did that housing authority thing, I took 128 kids off the street. I see this kid running across the street. I know he's up to say, "Hey, come here. What do you do?" I'll take this gun over to Bobby, because Johnny gave me $10 to just run across. I said, no. There's a cop waiting for you. That gun just did a crime. You're going away for the next 30 years just for $10. No.
Nice.
I break the gun, throw it down the drain. Said, "You need somebody to hold a ladder while I do some electric work. I'll pay you $10 an hour, and I'll give you a place to live." I did that with 128 kids, and they all turned out well.
Right. Well,
And they all did what they wanted to do. I didn't tell them what to do. I just gave them, a little fence post so they wouldn't kill themselves, and showed them a little discipline
right.
that they could do themselves. I didn't make them do anything. I just showed them what it was like. See, if you're disciplined, you get to do this. And that's what a good school does. And that's what Little Milligan did, right? I'd be there. I would be sitting there with the principal on the hallway.
See now,
The kids would be doing cartwheels down the hallway.
I know the people I know that went there, like my wife.
Mhm.
But the stories I hear about that and about the middle school shit.
Well, you're talking about Hampton.
Yeah, but Little Milligan was grade school.
Right. But that was a great school, because it was so isolated from the rest of the system.
But that's where teachers in like 4th and 5th grade
What
were
year?
teaching her that. Well, let's see. She was born in '85, so that would have been in the '90s. She was being taught that the moon landing was, the whole Capricorn one
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
That was her teachers believed that.
Well, maybe a teacher did it. And again,
She came out of there believing that it was all myth.
well, I hope. See, the real story about it, and this is what I love about what people believe. And that's the other thing. Not only will the end of America be because of convenience, the other thing that's going to be the end of us is that we believe stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe anything.
Easily impressed, very gullible.
Right.
And the internet, they've substituted at what is at best mere unfiltered data
Right.
for knowledge.
Right.
I mean, there's a difference between
But it's worse than
data, information,
it's
and
worse,
knowledge.
It's worse than that because this device basically gets, Google should be
social
paying
media.
you every time you Google, they're Googling you.
Yeah.
So back in 1988, I was at Cornell, right? And my job, I worked with this guy who looked at, he was teaching me how to be that itinerant scholar guy, right? He was getting old. And one of my teachers said, because I needed to get out of New York. I'd been there too long. And, anyway, but that's a whole nother story. Boy, do I have New York stories. So anyway, I did. And so that was the first place I landed in 1988 out of New York City, right? And I had a great job, place kind of being a research fellow at Cornell. And Cornell was a big research. Forget Stanford, forget Harvard, forget MIT. Go to any national laboratory. There's a Cornell Avenue, street, highway, and everyone. I mean, this is where all the smart people are, right? So anyway, he kept giving me little projects that would like blow my mind. And this is during the Ronald Reagan Star Wars.
Oh,
right?
God.
Right? And so they had a building called the Math Building that looked like Darth Vader. Had no windows. It was like 30 stories high. It was so different than all the other buildings. Anyway, so he goes, you've got to go see this guy on Wednesday. And he pulls out the door, just like a little ID, lanyard with no picture, no writing, just a CQ code, a little square with squigglies. It's 1988. He didn't even know what it was, right? But there it is. I mean, that's the only thing on that thing is that little squiggly square. He goes, when you go in there, make sure that this side is always facing out. Otherwise, they're going to shoot you. And don't wear a coat and don't, make sure it's right there. They can see it. Right. So anyway, I go there and, I go and everyone's got a machine gun. They have no they're wearing uniforms, but not ones that you know who they are. And so, I've been told this is what it is. I go, I stand on the orange line. They scan me. Oh yes, you'll have a meeting with this guy. We go to an elevator. He takes a little thing. The door opens. We go up. We go to this room. He takes another thing. The door opens, and it's a room with no windows. This is all four walls. A table with a thing where they can clink you right away. And there's cameras everywhere. Mm-hmm. Not like that, but a little bit more. And so, I'm sitting there for about 10, 15 minutes. The door opens. This little lady comes in with a trolley with tea and coffee and sandwiches and cookies. She was, you hungry? I said, yeah, I'll take that. I haven't eaten today, so I load the whole plate up on me. Got mustard all over me. Like this guy comes in, this other guy, security with sunglasses, thing in his ear. He's got a JCPenney suit. This other guy, he's got a Brooks Brothers suit and $300 haircut and $1,000 Italian shoes. Anyway, the other guy has a briefcase, and there is no button opening. He puts his thumbs on it, it opens, and he pulls this out. It's 1988, right? And it wasn't like this. It didn't have that. It was just the whole thing looked like this. No buttons on the side, just this, right? And he hands it to me. And he goes, what do you think this is? Well, this is a miniaturization of the Keyhole 7 spy satellite, which is when we put it up in 1950, it was like the size of a school bus. Here it is. And he goes, and this is what we will call observational economics. This device will be no more money, no more driver's license, no more anything. This is going to be who you are. And the guy was like, just kind of, but see, I was a kid, and in 1957, I was part of this thing called Young Scientists run by the guys who became Raytheon. And they had UNIVAC, right? The big computer. It was like the size of a gigantic building, and it was half the power of this thing. And anyway, the guy who wrote 2001, he was there doing a film, right? And in helicopters, they have these headsets with microphones that cancel out all the noise because helicopters. So we little kids, because the machine was so loud, we didn't want to get hurt. They put the things on us. And he is doing this movie of the future. I don't think 2001 had come out. It's
Yeah,
1957.
yeah, I always
Right.
had that.
And so, anyway, he basically was talking about this computer and what the computer age was. And then he picks a pack of cigarettes off the table and goes, see this? By 2000, everyone will have a device like this. And exactly what he said in 1957 is what I to that guy in that room. It's not like I was brilliant. I just heard that guy say that in 1957, 1910. Anyway, that's it. So the moon, right? The moon is, there's a guy named Joseph Campbell. Any of them or know who he is?
Yeah, this Campbell does a lot of stuff
With
on.
mythology.
Yeah,
He's all about. He's a
It's
guy.
My PhD was from Stony Brook. Campbell was associated very much with a few of my professors.
Yep.
So yeah.
So you know CW Post College, which is over there near Old Brookville, right?
Yeah.
And then on 107, going to the southern shore, was New York Institute of Technology.
All right.
I was there. I was
Okay.
there in 1984,
Okay.
and they were building artificial intelligence.
Well, I look at you might see artificial intelligence looking around here.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, I took my PhD in '89.
What did you get a PhD in?
Philosophy.
What flavor of philosophy?
I'm reading advanced Heideggerian, Freud, post-Freudian, anti-Freudian. You ever hear of a guy named Felix Guattari?
Yeah.
Okay. Felix Guattari is the one man I ever wish I had a chance to meet and talk to before he died.
You know what I always thought about that guy? Is that he was more French than the French.
Yeah. In '60, he wrote a book, Capitalism and Schizophrenia. I believe it was named it. That is the most difficult but rewarding
tell me.
text.
I can never find my glasses. Hell, I don't need them, and then I just like Captain Kangaroo's bag. I just keep digging in.
It was the most difficult but rewarding text I ever read. It was a little thing.
Most really good books, they don't need thousands of pages to say anything.
So yeah.
So
Heideggerian, post-Heideggerian.
Go get your phone over there. Okay. And go on to YouTube, because I can't find a card. I was going to give you one of my cards. And go look for Dreamy Dreamland. Come on, guys. Can't you make? We're having a pretty interesting conversation here. But you'd like this.
I'm somewhat of a.
Well, if you just went to the little bar on your thing,
Yeah.
and just put in Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, I would.
Dreamland.
Use. See that little thing, right? When it's asking you what you want to know. And I just have to that and go, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Owl Bob.
All right, there's just a second. I saw it a second ago.
Dreamy Dreamland.
With Sensei Al Bob there.
Yep. So there I am.
Okay. Yeah. How do I know.
YouTube.
I just have to figure
Somewhere below everything.
Yeah. Save.
Yep. Okay. And you can write it on your end.
Okay.
So I must have about somewhere between 200 and 2,000 shows.
Cool.
I started about 5-7 years ago.
I was doing a nightly thing on some social site. It turned out just to be a hookup site. People couldn't figure out why I was there. I was doing an hour long broadcast
analysis of what was going on
every night, and they couldn't. And I was trying to do it. Well, I was trying to give people. I was trying to do a give and take, not just a,
right. And that's what I do. I do a live chat,
and I couldn't get anybody to talk. They were just there for hookups.
Right. It's interesting. My show, I do a live
I
chat.
I finally gave up, especially since I couldn't count on having a connection because I was the Wi-Fi that I was jumping onto would lose power so often.
Right. So the guy, Dark Journalist, that's a YouTube, and that is a great thing to go watch because this guy, he has so much data of information of stuff you don't, and he has really great people. A guy named Joseph P. Farrell, you might like this name.
Okay.
Joseph P. Farrell, he's published, the books you just told me you'd like this guy. And so if you just go to Dark Journalist, he's got a whole bunch of different people like that guy who he brings on and he talks to. Catherine Austin Fitts is another lady. She's an economist who was in the Reagan administration. I mean, she couldn't be any more straight up conservative economist as you could get. And she was seeing that the neocons were deconstructing everything, right? And that, they were running the country into the ground, and it wouldn't happen right then, but it would happen in 10 years. And she went and said, "Why are you doing this? Because all I have to do is this, make a lot of money." It's like like when they wrote Social Security, they made a really good deal because what they did was they took a little bit of money from everybody's paycheck, right? And they didn't just pay grandma's bills. They put it in a trust, right? And they put it in a trust, the new Fed was there. And so they put it in Federal Reserve notes, special ones that actually got good interest no matter what the economy was doing. And so it had a tremendous amount of money, wealth in it, right? And so from the Vietnam War on, the federal government could borrow from that, right? And so they could pay for the wars and stuff, but it wasn't really coming out of grandma's money. It was coming out of that trust. That was just mind-boggling. And it took so much money. Somebody goes, Social Security is going broke. It's not. It's still paying grandma's bills. It's that trust and that they have taken so much out of it. If they try to keep borrowing from it, that's when they're going to start taking it from grandma's money.
Right.
And so this is the kind of stuff that people like to do. So Dark Journalist is very good at getting that. But I have no idea why he's so gaga for Donald Trump. It's like, what? You're so smart on all this other stuff.
There are erstwhile intelligent people who, and Trump. I remember Trump from New York '80s.
Right.
He
was a moron. I worked for the guy. He was a total moron.
He's a failed businessman.
Yeah, right. Everything he touched.
But he never invested his own money in the business.
Right.
All his other people's money.
Right. Well, that's what Cohen, that lawyer, and his daddy taught him, right? And his daddy knew he was a failure,
Yeah.
But he was the other son who tried to be a nice guy and want to be an airline pilot. His father broke him so much he committed suicide.
Like, we knew Trump was racist back in the 80s.
Yeah.
People are still arguing whether or not he's racist today. Are you kidding? Yeah, it's
You have to realize
the stuff that was open in the 80s
Yes.
about him, they're still trying to deny today.
right. Everyone knew he was a slime ball.
Yeah,
You know, it was on page 9 of a New York Post all the time.
but it's The Apprentice. That's the thing with The Apprentice. It crafted a new image.
Right, and it did one of those.
And it sold that. Just like Martha
Stewart. Right.
Okay. Crook.
Right.
And she
was
never
always
created a recipe herself. She stole them all
everything.
from caterers,
Yep.
and yet she is just this wonderful poster girl.
Yep.
They recreated her.
Yeah.
I get in arguments with my wife about it because she Martha Stewart, she's the generation thinks Martha Stewart. And I'm going, that's not Martha.
Right.
That is bullshit.
That was a manufactured image.
Yeah.
Just like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan had no real personality.
Oh no.
He was manufactured.
Yeah.
He was a socialist and he was a Democrat.
Alzheimer's when he was in office.
Right.
Oh, as long as he was delivering the script, it's fine.
Right.
But if you want off script, I'll never forget. 90% of pollution is caused by trees.
Right.
And people went, what?
But right. And then they went on. But the thing is, see, what people don't realize is that everything on either social media or industrial media is scripted. There is nothing that is not scripted.
Yeah.
I built the Inside Edition set for Fox. When Fox first came online, when they bought out Metro Media and bought out the Fox Movie Company, I worked for those guys, right? And so I was there at the very beginning, and I was, built their first set, their first studio, right? My company built that, right? So I was at these meetings. I read Rupert Murdoch and his boys and everybody else. And I had lived in Australia in the 70s, and I knew him in the 70s. And he goes, "Don't I know you?" I said, yeah, you know me. And so everything, until he came here, because the CIA owns Australia. We have a place called Walla Missile Range, and we have a thing called Dreamland, and we have a thing called something Springs. All the in Australia. So what's his name? The guy who did Star Wars, George Lucas, right? Campbell for a year and just took notes, right? And I was one of the guys who was sitting at his feet taking notes, and there's George Lucas. And his whole Star Wars is straight out of Joseph Campbell's mouth, right? And so our moon is the Death Star. It's an artificial thing. Our solar system was what they showed us, right? The empire, right? So basically what we got here is, it's theatrical thing. And so people have no idea that, everything is scripted. It's all Hollywood. And you know what Hollywood is? Holly is the wood you make that magicians make a magic wand out of. Right? And so it's all magic. It's all illusion. And so the real deal is, and so people who are Christian and they read the Old Testament, New Testament. So I went to school to be a rocket scientist for the Pope, right? Okay. So it's going to be a priest, right? My godfather was a bishop, a couple of hats from the Pope. And I just kept trying to do stuff for poor people. And they said, no, it's about the Benjamins. You
trying to go to Fordham?
No, I went to, I didn't make it that far. I went to a place called Canterbury, which was a place in Connecticut. Forget Fordham. That's like the working class. And they had slaves there.
Okay, I think Fordham, I think of the Jesuits.
Yes. Well, this place was Jesuits and the Franciscans. But the best crew to hang out with, the most righteous of the Catholics, are the Maryknolls.
Okay.
Did you ever hang out with any Maryknolls?
No, but it was the Maryknoll nuns that were getting shot.
Whacked and yes, the CIA was taken out.
Revolutionary
In El Salvador. Yep. So one of those nuns was a good friend of mine, Mary Halpern, and we started the Stop Shoreham campaign in Long Island, Stop the Shoreham Power Plant.
Right.
And that girl had more guts, more fun, and she was such a party animal. She was so much fun. She always had the best pod, you know. And she was for the first 5 years of our. I went to all the people, all the woke people. I said, "Listen, guys, you gotta have."
I hate that term. I never can figure out what it means.
It means
progressives.
Because it means it's a perfect term. Wake up, stupid. You're woke, meaning you're still asleep. You know, that's what being woke is. You're asleep, but you think you know what's going on.
Okay.
That's what woke means.
Okay. See, I thought it was something coined by the right.
No. It's a Greek subtext.
Okay.
You know, everything goes back to Greek. You know, you want to know what's going on?
Yeah.
I'll look at the etymology of the word and take it back to Greek. So you know what? So anyway, I was going to be a Catholic priest. Then I was in Williamsburg, and my landlord, who is a rabbi, said, "You need to be a rabbi." So I studied in his Revalution for about 4 years, and so in Judaism, it's not just the Torah; it's Torah, Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah.
Right.
There's 3 books.
Right.
And if you read the Torah, and God's telling, I want my place to have this room and that room, He's telling everybody. So it's not just the rabbi and it's not just the Pharisee. There's about 10 other people within that construct, right? So you never hear about that in the New Testament, right?
Right.
So the really interesting thing about, you know what? So you have the Torah. You know what that translates when you take it through Greek?
Yeah.
It translates, you suck. So the New Testament is about you suck. And Adam translates to Thek. You know what Thek is?
What's that?
It's schmegma. You know?
I love it.
So you try to tell a Baptist this. I belong to 3 different churches, and I don't go to their services. I go to their Bible study, and I talk this way to them. And at first they wanted to string me up, but afterwards, when I started bringing them books, and the ones who would read would go, "Oh my God, he's right." You know.
Yeah, the ones you can read. I sure.
That's why I love this thing. I used to be in these once I came online in the 90s and the early years, and I was still doing my thing. All these professors would try to show that I was stupid, didn't know what it was. Well, go Google that. And they would go, "Oh my God." So that's why I love Google. It's like instantaneous.
Oh, well, Google.
So what's your name?
I remember one thing.
I'm Al. And you are?
I'm Jay.
Jake?
Jay.
Jay.
And you're Al?
O-W-L.
O-W-L. Okay.
Al Bob.
Al Bob.
Sensei Al Bob?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm Jay, man.
Okay, that's it. Well, I love the way you're very disciplined. You come in here and you do your thing, and I was always very impressed. And I was waiting for you to talk to me.
Yeah, I'm just like every day I'm listening to this one.
Yeah, most people aren't listening.
Somebody,
And see, why I didn't reach out to you at first, because I wanted to see if you actually.
No, and it was interesting today, the Russian-Ukraine stuff. That was something that I did a couple of my broadcasts about, as well as I did a 2-part one on war and propaganda and American stuff that tied into that as well.
So most people don't realize that this is a orchestrated soap opera. Yeah. That both Putin, it's a war of the 2 Vlads. Putin, the bag man, and the Ukrainian, the stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And they are both selling their people down the river. Yeah. And so people don't have a concept of that whatsoever.
And we've got American presidents who were making things that never could be done by a president during the Cold War, which is
have war with Russia.
which is fence Russia in,
Right.
and be the one who can say they did it.
But not only that, they're going to do more than that. They're going to turn Russia into Disneyland.
Oh yeah.
What Disney did to Times Square is what, and it's again, not just see America is just a player. It's player. America isn't in charge.
Putin is a crook who took over.
He's a bad man. Yeah. No, he took over from the drunk.
Oh, from what?
The drunk. Gorbachev, and then there was the drunk, and then
Okay,
and it was Bill Clinton's best buddy. They had a bromance.
yeah.
I forget his name, but he was a total drunk, and that's why they got rid of him because he nearly started World War III because he was drunk. And but he's the guy who destroyed the Soviet Union because he hated Gorbachev, and Gorbachev did what he did because he wanted to save the Soviet Union, and he knew that if he could save the Soviet Union and bring it into a European mode, he would be top dog of the EU.
But the reason that couldn't happen, see, there was a war going on.
Right.
But it was an economic war. It was defense budgets.
Not only that, it was the people.
Almost bankrupted us.
It was the people behind it.
It almost bankrupted us. The Soviets fell first.
Right.
Because they had to match our defense budget.
Right.
And so
But that was
kept happening up
but
to the defense
was
budget
just-
until their economy.
but that was just the surface soap opera. I mean, there's a lot deeper stuff.
But that's what took their economy down.
Well, but again, it was scripted. That's what made
Look
it.
at Afghanistan.
Right. But still, Afghanistan was nothing.
Oh, Afghanistan, they're trying to prove that they could play a puppet war just like we did in
right.
Vietnam.
In about 100 other places.
Yeah.
But again, these are all very obvious. But the real story is underneath and way deeper and goes back to like we are really Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The Emperor is like on Venus somewhere.
Well, just like most people don't realize between 1917 and 1921, there were 4 attempted invasions
Yeah.
of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
They went into Finland.
Right.
Nobody knows that.
Right.
It-
Or anything. All the wars we've had over 270 years. We've lost 70 million American soldiers since Thomas Jefferson was president, and now 70 million. Yes. Of all of that, we've only of the 200 and something years that we've been a republic, or the 10 republic.
but we love peace. But we love peace. Well, I often say that, this is such a militaristic culture that the Soviet Union was not the militarist that we, and the reason
They still are.
they lost between 40 and 60 million people in World War II.
Right.
And I've often argued, and you get yourself,
Hey, Jay, do me a favor. Can you unplug my little?
So what this country needs is to lose about 20 to 40
Well,
million.
if they keep doing this war, one more year, not even 6 more months, they will have lost 1 million people. And see, the thing is about all of that. Like, go back to World War II. How did they lose 60 million people?
Well,
In less than 4 years. You know how they did? Germany had nuclear weapons.
and the infantry box, and the Russians were fielding 80,000 man infantry blocks
Right.
where they were sharing one rifle between
Right.
2 men.
Right.
And so when they lost the company,
Right.
they lost the division, they lost huge numbers. This country really needs to take a 40 million man loss
Right.
in a war.
We never will.
We never will. But it would change the militarism.
See, we should have learned from the Civil War because that was the closest we ever came to experiencing that, right? And we didn't. Because when that Reconstruction thing wasn't just for the black folk. It was for the white folk in the South too. And part of the reason why it was stepped on so hard was not just to keep the black folk in part, because the white folk were slaves too.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what people don't realize too. Just like, the white slaves in Virginia.
Yeah. That's
totally
the
wiped
Pilgrims
out.
were slaves.
That's totally wiped out of American
Right.
history. And part of what? Now, I'm Sioux. At least that's what I claim.
Native American.
Yeah. And the Indian Wars,
Mhm.
Plains Indian Wars. Do you know why they happened?
They were the worst.
Because they had all these morphine-addicted Civil War soldiers.
Right.
They couldn't turn them loose.
Right.
So they sent them out west
Right.
and started wars
with the Indians.
with the Indians. So they
Because
died.
because
And
they were-
all you have to do is look at the morphine shipments
Right.
out to the western forest.
Because they were expendable.
And the morphine shipments tell the whole story.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's
It's
and then the real interesting thing is because I spent so much time.
oh,
in
you
libraries,
gotta read the history of the Plains Indian Wars in this country.
I-
Oh, Ralph Andrus?
yeah,
Okay, The Long Death.
Yep.
Okay, it's brilliant.
right.
Brilliant.
And people always talk about the terrible march of the Cherokee. That's nothing compared to
compared to what went on.
what went on. And
It said, well, when they walk entire nations like to Oklahoma,
right.
when 25% of
And
them
we're
would
going
die.
to do that again. No matter who wins, whether the Democrats or Republicans, we're going to build our own Gaza Strip along the Mexican border. 800 miles. Put a big fence around it all and bring people in there and have them work in factories for 25 cents. Because automation is basically, there have been many great economists who write about automation, in that when you have automation, like in England, when they first had it in the 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, what happened was that technology made workers value so little that when the next generation of the high tech came on, it was more expensive. So they would have women pulling barges rather than having steam locomotives because it was cheaper, because the value of their labor was so little. And if they died, no big deal. I mean, that statement that Scrooge makes in the Christmas Carol, don't we have enough workhouses?
Yeah, workhouses.
And he basically uses the economic, isn't the, value of the worker so little that I shouldn't even give you a nickel?
Yeah.
It's like, it's right there in front of us, and it's happened more than once. So we're heading to that. So we're going to have our own little strip and see what people don't realize. NAFTA made Mexico, the United States, and Canada one country. They don't know this. It's not a separate country. And if we ever really told the general public this, then they'd have to go, well, what about our Congress and Senate and our state legislatures? That means things they don't matter.
Don't actually matter.
It's just a theatrical,
Yeah, and it's all light and shadow.
It's a soap opera.
Yeah.
Right. And so you and I are old enough where, like I said, I have no kids. My 128 godchildren. Look at that. It's really sunny and it's raining in that window. That's what I love about this. Not raining in that window. It's raining in that window. I mean, it could be stuff coming off the roof, like the air conditioner, but it's not.
No, it's not.
It's actually raining.
But
That window.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this place, because I was standing in the woods last night, and that storm kind of tried to get through. And over there, it was like thundering and lightning and wind, and the trees were crashing down, and it was like a waterfall. And where I was, I could see the stars. It's like, okay, I like this place.
It's like,
It's like Shakespeare's Midsummer's Night's Dream. That's what this place is.
There you go. Hey, I'll see you.
Okay, I'll see you again.
Yeah. See you.
Yeah. Stay well, my friend. Well, kids, how'd you like that one? How much juice do we have left? Oh, we got a little bit. So that was an hour and 4 minutes. That was a fun conversation. I don't know how much of that you got. Let's see. I should have checked it out. Yep. Yeah, there I am. Really, that was that feedback. Sorry about that. So I'm doing pretty good. Did you watch any of that? Is that you Bay City, that's there. So he just had U.S. Air Force 47. That's when the U.S. Air Force became separate from the, Army. It used to be the Army Air Force, and then it became U.S. We are here. And so this is when the National Security Act was brought through the Congress, and basically got rid of the Constitution. That's when COG, that's a continuation of government. That's when everyone went underground. And when Dick Cheney became, Mr. What's his name's Ronald Reagan's chief of staff, they took over COG and rewrote everything. My uncle took out. Mom was born. Oh, your mom was born. Well, all these things are always very interesting. He was. Oh, National Intelligence from the Air Force. Holy moly. I wonder if he knew my dad. My dad was a bird colonel. He worked for Curtis LeMay. He worked for Curtis LeMay when LeMay and McNamara incinerated Europe and then went on to incinerate Japan. And my dad was a triple Virgo, really great at organizing. And before the war, he graduated college in, I think, 32 or so. He was a big football hero. The Air Force said, he took all the tests. He goes, you're one of ours. And then and they were only taking guys who knew how to fly airplanes. And he took all the tests, and they said, well, I don't think you'll be a pilot, but you have a great organizational mind, and we'll call you soon because we're going to be needing a guy like you. And he did. He went from, first lieutenant to major, like within 2 years, and then became colonel. There's Martin. Martin's in. I'll see if I can get Martin in on the conversation here. Martin's a smart guy who got into the wrong end of the bottle, which is easier than get Martin.
I told you I'd make it. Get my morning. Just my job and make it my morning.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, did any of you guys listen to my earlier conversation? Hey, Martin.
Where you in today?
Oh, I'm having a cup of coffee. I came here for breakfast. Have a seat. Join me.
I'm riding with this fella.
Oh, you got something to do.
Yeah. You got any work going on?
I'm old. I don't do much except read books and write stories.
I know, but you go to weed
No. I have no money. I live on $400 a month.
Huh?
I live on $400 a month. Do you still live in your mom's house?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I ever do need you, that's where you are, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll come up for you. But right now, no. All right. You still got your tools? Yep, you bought beer.
Oh, well, I got DUI and driving.
Oh, yes. Well, that makes things easier. Ooh. Warren, do you still have your hand tools?
Huh?
Do you still have your hand tools?
Have my what?
Your tools?
Yeah.
Okay.
can be upset for you if you need.
Yeah, I might, but not at the moment.
Alright.
Later, buddy. Yeah, he bought 4 6-packs. Right? That's called alcoholism. Let's see. Where are my glasses? Ooh. What is it? I would say no. He doesn't have his tools. Oh, it's 31. Macy and 31. So Martin is, so there are about 5 families that have been here for like 19 generations, right? They got everybody in them. And Martin's from one of those families. So as a anthropologist, as a demographer, and when 25 years ago, I kind of bumped into these families, and so I got everyone's story, right? And depending on what holler is what dialect of Hollerese they spoke. And I remember one time I was standing there with these guys, and there were 4 of them from the same family, but from different hollers. So they all spoke different dialects. And then there were 6 other guys from the other families. It was like being at the UN, right? And Martin's cousin, who was still young, and he was like a shiny little bunny rabbit, and he was my helper. You gotta help, So that kid was like really smart, really on the ball. I taught him how to be an electrician, I taught him how to build, I taught him how to do everything, right? And he was really great. And then he got this job with this contractor who used him like a slave, like paid him $8 an hour, and worked him to death until he had an accident and broke his leg, right? He didn't get any workman's comp or anything because this guy paid him cash off the books. And this kid, there were 4 of these kids, and when they were about sophomore in high school, and they just getting a girlfriend, they wanted to get a car and they wanted to get a job, so they were going to quit high school and go work at McDonald's and get a car. And basically, I told them, hey, you stay in high school, I will give you $300 for every semester you get through, right? And I'll pay it to you get through that semester, I'll give you $300, right? So the first semester of that, they all did, right? So there were 4 of them. I gave them all $300, $1,200. Next year, half of them went and got a job doing then got a car, got a girlfriend, and then ended up either shot or died of OD. Right? And then the 3rd kid, he went and joined the army, and he died in Iraq. And the other kid, that one kid, he made it all the way through high school. And I said, if you graduate, I'll give you $1,200, right? And so I got him to the point where he was smart. And I got him to a place where I took him down to a county seat, and I said, okay, this kid wants a limited electrical license. The kid knew enough to pass the test like that. But when I said, okay, you're going to take the test. Okay, I don't do well on tests. I said, no, this is something you know. And I said to the guy, I said, did you have a copy of last year's test? Oh, yeah, to show him what it's going to be like. Sure. He gave me that. And I'd given this guy a copy of the code book. And I don't know what he'd done with it, but he didn't have it anymore. So he got the most recent, right? So I bought one for $22 from the county guy. And I took this kid for lunch, and I showed him, here's the test. I said, we went through the test. Could he, right? And I said, and you can look it up, and you have 4 hours to do it. They give you 80 questions, It's like almost 10 minutes a question. Come on, So he went in there, and he sat down, and I paid for him to take the test, and he was in there for about 40 minutes, and he said, I couldn't do it. And if he had done that, he could have had his own company, and he'd be fine. But he didn't do it. And I tried to get him to do it 4 more times. And I was never always here. And so, anyway, that kid turned into Martin. So, so that's the story. Over Carnival. Yes, it's kind of like when Disney, boats come into a harbor. Like a good example is Disney when the Navy left, Key West. Disney bought it, right, and so they could dump 4 of their cruise ships there in one shot. So in one shot, they could dump 20,000 tourists onto Key West. Key West was big enough to kind of fit them all, but it was like being in a subway car, right? And when boats went there, it was nice. It was Key West, but I used to live in Key West. I had a place in a Grassy Pine Key, and I would, it was about 30 miles to. I go to Marathon mostly to hang because I had friends there, and I often would go back in the day when Key West was not paved, and you could have your dog with you without it being on a leash, and you didn't have to have a pooper scooper, and so. So when you say Key West is amazing, what level of amazing you're talking about? Like when Dave Matthews Band jumped and pooped on the tourists. Yes, exactly. But when I lived in the Keys and I would go hang at Key West, you expected to see Hemingway come around a corner, right? They still had parakeets that were like, somebody let them go and they reproduced there and stayed there. And so there were all these parrots that were flying around like robins, saying, screw you, fuck you, like because they could. Great gentlemen's club. I built many of them. So if you're in a gentlemen's club, do you ever go to a gentlemen's club in Daytona? It's called Lollipops. I built that place. Hemingway Hotel. Oh, I'm sure it wasn't. Brothels. Yes, that's the men's club. But a quick men come so fast. Instead of having to get a room, they go into the VIP lounge, which is always the really skankiest part. That's when the lighting is so dim in the VIP lounge because the ejaculant shows up on the couch and on the no one would sit on those lap dance seats. I do come fast. So lots of parrots. Yep. So anyway, I was there I think Disney took over Key West in the early O's, maybe 06. Up the best OB. Yep. So so I gave up, I had a really great little, I bought in 03, I bought, 3 places in 03. I kind of cashed in a good, my factory building in where Jerry Fall was in Virginia, starts with an L, Loser, Virginia, I think. And I had a place called, I forget it. It'd be on 460 between Roanoke and Loser, Virginia. Loser, Virginia was great because when I was there, it was like San Francisco. It's this beautiful city up on a hill, and it goes down to the James River. The railroad and the James River is right there. It's just 2 bridges. One is 460, the other one's 29, and on either side of Main Street of whatever they call the name of that city, Loser, Virginia. Virginia is for lovers. I don't know about that. There are more mental institutions in Virginia than anywhere else, per capita in America. Go look at up there where 66 hits 26, 81, I mean, 66 hits 81, right on the border of Pennsylvania there. Starts with an S. And mental institutions, yes, more mental institutions per capita in Virginia, because there is more, what do you call it? When you start screwing your children, there's more of that in Virginia than anywhere else. They just keep doing it. It's like, did you ever take a mimeograph thing and you make a mimeograph of a mimeograph of a mimeograph, not even Xerox mimeographs? That is like the genetic structure of the people in Virginia. And not, I mean, these are the white people in charge, not all the working class or the people who have just moved there. No, because there's a lot of those. Lynchburg, loser, Virginia, Lynchburg, and like a copy of VHS, exactly. So all our founding fathers, that's why our present day political structure, especially our presidents, they're basically all related to each other. Did you know that? Even Obama. That movie with Batman. Yep. Of a VHS. Yes, I think the VHS is a better motif. So anyway, nothing is as it seems to be. So I don't know how many people here we are. How much time we got? Oh yes, we gotta go use the facilities. And what time is it? Ooh, 5. Yeah, I'm gonna head home before that next storm comes flying in here tomorrow. So come and find me, and I'll speak to you later. Do. Get this. Cancel. End stream. Yes. And yes.